Hey, welcome back traders. Continuing the back testing of 2024. We are on week 40. So after this time, there's only going to be 12 more weeks left. So we can have this whole series wrapped up by the end of next week. It's getting very close, coming to an end. Let's go ahead and jump right in. I have the weekly chart pulled up for NASDAQ here, and let's zoom in a little bit. I got the sell side below these relative equals lows down here, but let's go ahead and zoom in so we take a look at this. We have a weekly SIBI, and we also have a weekly BISI. Now, whenever you have a BISI and a SIBI so close to each other like this, there could be a lot of bouncing back and forth. So we could expect a lot of consolidation. So this week, I'm going to be a little bit cautious, want to be more neutral, because I do understand that we could come into like a big consolidating range, maybe for the next, 2 or 3 weeks. However, with that said, we are going into this SIBI, and you can see with the weekly body right here, the body of this weekly candle is staying in the lower half of this weekly SIBI. Even though we've went above it, we've closed within it about halfway through. So this SIBI is going to be very important going to this week. If we start going above it and closing above it, we could possibly use it as inversion for a bounce for this high and maybe even all-time highs. But you can see that we do have a big BISI on the weekly, so we could retrace here and consolidate in this range for a little while longer. Now, going into the daily chart, I'm not seeing much inefficiency, at least no obvious inefficiencies here. So really, we're going to have to keep an eye on the weekly inefficiencies here. I think that's going to play a big role going into this week, because you can see there's no fair value gaps here whatsoever until we start going down below this weekly BISI. And if we start going down below this weekly BISI, we could be looking for a sell side drop before this low, maybe even these relative equal lows. Therefore, going into this week, I'm going to be slightly bullish, but like I said before, I want to maintain somewhat of a neutral bias because it could be a very, very choppy week. This is September 27th. We are going into non-farm payroll into October. So once again, I'm not going to be trading the Thursday or the Friday of this week. Just back testing the 30th through the 2nd. And let's go ahead and jump right into Monday. All right, so Monday morning, 8 o'clock, this is the 4-hour chart, and what I'm looking at is where is the sell side? Well, we do have this swing low down here that could affect price. I'm going to go ahead and mark it out. There are relative equal lows here as well. I think this would be the deepest sell side I would like to see in order for us to still remain a bullish bias, because this is a weekly BISI, and just by sweeping the sell side here, we'll still remain in the upper half of this weekly BISI. We do have sell side down here as well. I don't really want to see these get swept. I don't really want to see this get swept as well if we're going to be really, really strong bullish. Pretty much this is the only one that I would willingly be able to see a sweep up before going up higher. Now, jumping down into a 1 hour, you can see that we do have this right here. I'm going to also mark out this 1 hour wick. This lower wick here is pretty long. I'm going to look at 50% of this. I think we can sweep this low, maybe tap into 50% of this wick. And then I want to start seeing reversal going up higher, aiming for this high as our first partial. And then, of course, the second partial will be up here. And if we get a closure above this weekly SIBI, that's going to signal me to go for even higher targets up here. We have a bunch of buy-side targets that I would love to get into. Now, quickly looking at the 15-minute, we do have, kind of a downward trend here, but it's pretty tight consolidation. We did go underneath the sell side, this right here at 8 o'clock. We did sweep all the sell side here over the weekend. So we could just start going up from here. We don't necessarily have to go down to the sell side there. We definitely could. We're going to wait for 8:30 at least, and maybe 9:30 to see if we're going to sweep the sell side and then start reversing. If we do start seeing displacement, maybe a market structure shift above this high, then I can go for longs, aiming for this high as the first partial. And of course, the second partial is up here. Now, you also want to know there is a 15-minute fair value gap here. If we take out the first partial and we start having trouble here, this could be another place you could take your second partial. All right, so pre-market, not much happened, but at 9:30, we do have a rally up. And like I said, this sweep of the sell side down here is good enough. And now we're starting to get displacement. We went up above this high, so there is a market structure shift. Zooming out a little bit, still staying on the 5-minute. You can see I'm looking for price to come up here. I'm going to go ahead and mark out these relative equal highs as well. I will be willing to enter into a long as we don't take these out. All right, so going back into the 930 rally here, I will be willing to take this fair value gap. This is my entry right here with my risk down here below the order block. And I'm aiming for this relative equal highs here as the first partial. Do I take it off there? Perhaps. I mean, the wise decision would be to take it off there from my entry to this target. That is going to be 80 points of, well, 75 points of reward. The risk here is going to be about 45. So that's going to be a little bit under 2-to-1. But anyways, let's see if we get picked up here. And I'm just going to go with one contract. This is just going to kind of be like a feeler for this morning. And we'll see. We'll go from there. All right, so I did get entered in. However, it did start reversing down here, going down lower, and went ahead and stopped me out. So went ahead and recorded that. Got stopped out. Only one contract, but still a 0.7% loss. Now, are we going to go for another sweep of the sell side? If we do, let's go ahead and zoom out to the 15-minute. If we do go for the sell side, like I said before, we could be going for this low, and we do have sell side down here as well. We do have buy side up here, so kind of stuck in between. I think I'm not going to try to enter until one of these liquidity pools get tapped into, either the buy side or the sell side, and then we'll see what price does after that. On the way down, there's no inefficiencies to speak of except for this one all the way up here. But I don't really like it since above is busy. If we start going above the busy, going back into here, I wouldn't be super confident in a short, honestly. So we'll see, first of all, whether or not this low gets swept, and then we'll see if we can go for the further sell side. That's kind of what I'm thinking, but it could just reverse from here and go for the buy side. All right, so 12:15, my trading window is over. And once we had this decline here, we never took out this swing low down here, so it's failing to take out the low. I think it's going to go for the buy side now, but after it rallied back up to equilibrium, we had this consolidation phase around like between 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock. And once I saw that, I knew it was just going to start being very choppy, and I did not really want to trade. So pretty much just watched it for the rest of the morning. It did go back up into the SIBI here, went down a little bit, but still consolidation around equilibrium. And now during the lunch, it looks like we are going to be going up higher. Let's go ahead and take a look at the end of the day. And we did rally up here, but we never took out this high. And then around the PM session opened, we went for the sell side, and then this big reversal here. And then here we have a confirmation, but never really came back for any entry. So this reversal right here, this could have been an entry after, you know, displacement after taking out sell side. You can see kind of like one candle down, one candle up. This is kind of like the ICT Venom model, honestly, but this buy side has not been taken. And if this remains for tomorrow, this could be my primary target. Of course, we still have a lot of buy side targets. So this swing low here, I'm expecting this to be the low of the week. If we can get above this large, I don't know, we'll call it like tan, orange, yellow, brown. Anyways, this was that weekly SIBI. So remember, if we went above the weekly SIBI, I'm going to be switching my bias to a stronger bullish bias. All right, so Tuesday morning, remember, it is NFP week. On a 1 hour chart, we did take out these relative equal highs here, and we tapped into the high of that weekly SIBI. Is it random? Who knows? We do have buy side above this high and then buy side up here. So these are going to be the two primary targets that I have going into today. We do have relative equal highs here as well. I guess I'll mark it out, but let me jump down to a 15-minute first. And yeah, we'll go ahead and mark this out, no problem. And we do have relative equal lows here. So this is kind of like my short-term buy side and sell side. I want to see a sweep of one of these. Ideally, we sweep these lows and then reject, going for these highs and this high, and of course the higher high as well. All right, so typical non-farm payroll pre-market, pretty much just consolidation. But 9 o'clock, we do get the sell side, well, not technically a sweep just yet, but we hit the sell side target. Now, if we can get above this high right here, I'll be considering that as a market structure shift. Looking for a price to come up for these relative equal highs, and then we could be going for higher buy side targets. All right, so a little bit before 10 o'clock, we just continuously drop down. Remember, this is that weekly BISI. And just like at the beginning, I'm telling you, when we have a SIBI and a BISI, especially like on the weekly or the daily chart, it could just bounce back and forth between these two. So it could be a prolonged consolidation range. That's why you want to be neutral. You want to be very patient. But let's go ahead and see what's going on as we go into 11 o'clock. And I'm going to zoom out real quick to the 1 hour. We went down. I'm going to go to the 4 hour. Are there sell side targets? Yes, there are. I'm looking for price perhaps to come down into right here. This will also be close to the middle of that weekly BISI. All right, so 11:30. Finally, we took out the sell side down here. That was the target I was looking for. No trades yet. I guess, going down here, maybe you could have taken one. I don't really like this one because it kind of looks like we could be reversing above here. But after drop down creating another SIBI, this could have been a potential entry for you looking for the sell side to get hit. So you could have entered here on the low, have your stop up here on the high. I didn't do that. I was wanting to see what price will do after taking out the sell side. And as you can see, right after taking the sell side, just like maybe 15 minutes or so, we rallied back up, creating a BISI. So one candle down, one candle up. This could be a potential reversal. So I'm going to go ahead and take a shot here, zooming in. So this is kind of like the ICT Venom model. So if I have my entry here and my risk will be down here, that's going to give me quite a bit, 60 points of range. Not sure I want to do that. So what I'm going to do is just wait for it. I want to wait to see if we can get confirmation here. I think we will. Well, if we get confirmation, I'll enter on the confirmation fair value gap. I guess I could, lower my risk by having the risk down here at the low of this candle. So if I have my entry here, that will be 50 points range. You know what? I'll go ahead and try for this. Just one contract. See if because if we do get a reversal here, this could be potentially a pretty nice risk to reward. But I will have to endure 50 points of risk initially. So let's go ahead and see if we can get in on this long. It is kind of getting close to 12 o'clock. So I think the best we can do maybe is to get into equilibrium, perhaps above this high, maybe go into this weekly fair value gap, like in the low right here, and maybe take off the trade somewhere right here, or probably just take it off on a time stop. Okay, so 12:15, my trading window's over, never came back in to take me in along, which, well, I'm not too disappointed because you can see that price didn't really go anywhere. So I guess we're just going to skip today. Tomorrow is Wednesday, be my last opportunity to trade this non-farm payroll week. I will go ahead and clean up some of the sell side here, and we'll move on to Wednesday morning after taking a look at the end of the day. And looking at the end of the day, we pretty much just, like I said, we came back up above this high, right? I said that this is probably as high as we will go. We ticked above there and then came back down and pretty much went into equilibrium between this high and this low into this fair value gap here. So right now we're kind of consolidating and closing on the high of that weekly BISI. Let's go ahead and go into Wednesday and we'll see what happens early in the morning, and jumping into the 1 hour chart. You can see that we are consolidating at the upper half of this weekly BISI. We do have sell side down here, so that could be a sweep. I'm still looking for price to be bullish, but if we start going down below this BISI, I will turn my bias to bearish. And of course, if we go above this SIBI, I want to be more bullish, but pretty much in between the SIBI and the BISI, I want to stay mostly neutral, but I'm slightly betting on the upside. All right, I went ahead a lot. It is just before 11 o'clock. You can see I'm zoomed out a little bit more than usual, but zooming in here, we didn't do a whole lot after the 9:30 opening. We did drop down, but it failed to take out this low, so that is a failure swing. And we started having a market structure shift above this swing high. But you can see, and as I zoom in, the action this morning, very choppy. You can see all these candles pretty much overlapping each other, no inefficiencies whatsoever. I have a feeling that probably there's not going to be a trade today. But let's see if we can, find something on the 15-minute, right? Whenever the lower time frame looks very, very choppy, you want to zoom out to a higher time frame and you may see something. And what I'm seeing here is that we did drop down from 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock. We respected this fair value gap, but now that we've closed above it, I'm looking for this fair value gap on the 15-minute to play a part as inversion. We do have a 15-minute BISI here and here. So when you look at the 15-minute, it looks bullish. On the 5-minute, you can't really tell. There's no inefficiency, very, very choppy. So this is what I mean by zooming out to a higher time frame. Now, we do have two fair value gaps. I don't want to be executing on the 15-minute time frame, but this is like one of those days where it's really choppy and you could execute on a higher time frame, but you have to remember that it's on a higher time frame. So you have to be more patient and let price do what it has to do. But I'm not going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to drop back down to a 5-minute, and I'm still looking for a 5-minute fair value gap going into 11 o'clock. All right, so close to 11:30. As you can see, no fair value gap on the 5-minute whatsoever, and we poked into that weekly SIBI. So let's just jump back up to the 15-minute. And you can see on the 15-minute, we respect this fair value gap, right? We never came back down to this one, and we stayed above this 15-minute SIBI. So like I said, the bullishness was there. We poked into the weekly SIBI above this swing high. And that's pretty much good enough. We could be coming down for these relative equal lows and getting close to 12 o'clock. I'm pretty much ending my trading day here, perhaps even for the rest of the week. Friday after 8:30, after the non-farm payroll news, there could potentially be some opportunities. So I may make an exception, but really it has to be something really good that I'd like to see. But anyways, let's go ahead and see what the rest of the morning has to offer, and we'll go into the end of the day, and then we'll go ahead and go into Thursday. All right, so going into 12:15 this morning, after we hit the weekly SIBI, nothing really happened, just consolidation. Didn't take out this high or anything, didn't go lower, pretty much just sideways action. And then end of day here, pretty much more consolidation here in the upper part of that weekly BISI. I'm thinking this low right here is not really going to get taken out, but potentially we could take it out on Thursday, and then we have a big rally on Friday. All right, so Thursday morning, on the 1 hour chart, relative equal lows, the obvious sell side target. However, I'm not really excited to be trading on Thursday, considering we do have non-farm payroll Friday. So I'm just going to walk through the morning action. No trades, but I may outline something. Okay, so a little bit after 9 o'clock, and now I'm kind of seeing something right here that I kind of like, but not good enough to make a trade. We did come up at 8:30 for a sweep of the buy side up above this high. As you can see, we came up above this high. And then we started going lower, creating a fair value gap here. So this fair value gap could provide some resistance, and we could be going for this swing low. And I'm looking for relative equal lows to get taken down below here. So if you go ahead and take this, potentially you can make 100 points from here. And the risk you'll have to endure is going to be from, let's see, 951, and your entry should be around here. So not a lot of risk, actually, only about like 25 points. So 25 potentially to make 100. That's going to be a 4-to-1 if you enter here and go for the sell side down here. So let's go ahead and see if that works out. And of course, this is why you don't trade non-farm payroll. It did not work out. At 9:30, we had a surprise rally up. If you were short here, you would have gotten stopped out. So anyways, going to go ahead and see, are we going to get support with this rally, or is this just going to sweep the buy side and we go for these relative equal lows? All right, so we do see support here. We can see that this fair value gap held up and we are going higher. We're starting to leave the weekly BISI, and it looks like we could be heading back for the weekly SIBI. So hopefully we can get close to the high of that weekly SIBI, and if we get a closure above it, going into next week, I will have a clear bullish bias. But right now, like I said at the beginning of this video, we could be bouncing back and forth between this weekly BISI and this weekly SIBI. And as you can see, as soon as we went to the weekly SIBI, boom, went down once again. Let's just go ahead and see what the rest of this morning looks like, and then we'll jump into Friday. So this was the morning action. Not surprising, after we hit the weekly SIBI, came back down, and look at this consolidation. Very, very choppy, pretty much a nothing burger going sideways. Then we close at the high of the weekly BISI. Then now let's take a look at the end of the day. I kind of expect more consolidation. So we did drop down, take out this low, didn't go for the sell side between below this low or these relative equal lows, pretty much just went sideways and closed around equilibrium. We opened up here, we closed up there. So very, very little movement in terms of the daily candle and a lot of choppy action intraday. So let's go ahead and jump into Friday, last day of the week. Now normally I don't trade Friday, right? But kind of thinking like we could have some opportunities after 8:30. And I'm going to go ahead and mark out the buy side here. Of course, short-term sell side has been these relative equal lows throughout the whole week. Monday, we opened here. This was the high of the week and a lot of consolidation here. Now, we don't have to sweep these lows. This could be the low of the week on Tuesday. And this was the high of the week. So I think one of these will be the target, but you can see between here, this is the middle. We're kind of at equilibrium. So again, hard to tell. So far, we've been going back and forth between the weekly BISI and the weekly SIBI. All right, so 8:30 NFP news. We rallied up above this high, jumping out into the 1 hour. So above this high, we're into this inefficiency. So can't really tell just yet on whether or not this is going to hold as resistance, pushing us lower for these relative equal lows, or are we going to start trading above it, use it as inversion, and then that will make us look for higher targets above these highs. But I'm not going to mark it out. It lines up well with the high of the SIBI, this high up here. And of course, we do have a higher high. I think these are going to be relative equal highs. Well, it's going to be, no, it's this swing high up here. So looking for this target and this target on the upside. On the downside, we have these relative equal lows. So those are going to be the two targets going in. And like I said, not going to be doing any trades unless there's something really, really good. But I think as long as we remain between these two inefficiencies, I'm not really, liking any trades at the moment. All right, so just before 10:30, 9:30 open was right here. Didn't do much for the first few minutes, but then we dropped down and pretty much reversed all of this NFP move at 8:30. We went down below these lows, going back into the BISI now. Like I said, ping-ponging between these two inefficiencies. So it looks like this is kind of holding up at the moment, and we could be heading for these relative equal lows. So I think if there's any trade today, it's going to be shorts looking for these lows. But looking at the 5 minutes, so far, I'm not seeing much. We did come into this inefficiency here, the SIBI, and we have dropped lower. If we take out these lows, create another fair value gap, maybe I'll take a chance on it. But I think we could take out this high, go into these inefficiencies a little bit more, although we do have somewhat of a balanced price range here. I'm going to give it some more time, and let's just see, what it looks like leading up to 11 o'clock. All right, so 11:15, we do go above this swing high, like I said, and we came back into this inefficiency and potentially have a fair value gap here. So if we have a fair value gap here, I'm actually going to go ahead and try and take a chance here. Let me get rid of this liquidity line. So if we have this fair value gap here, I may be willing to take a chance here. Kind of a wide risk. I think I'm just going to go ahead and do one contract at 50% of this fair value gap. I think that's going to be more reasonable. And let me go ahead and just mark out the price here. And just so you know, I normally don't trade NFP week or the Friday even, but I'm going to go ahead and try to take a chance. I think we could be heading for the sell side. It is good risk to reward. So definitely if we go down, if I get in, if this fair value gap remains intact and I get in and we go down below this low here, the sell side, there's a lot of sell side below this consolidation area. So it could just sweep that and then we go up higher. So it may not get to the sell side target. So if we go down below this low, I'm definitely going to move my stop to break even. All right, so here, as you can see, we did create a fair value gap. No trade yet because, well, it created a fair value gap here. So my entry will actually be over here at 127.5. However, we are starting to move away from it, so I may not get my entry. If we create another fair value gap, there's a potential second setup here. So let's go ahead and duplicate this, and we'll move it down. Maybe I duplicated the wrong thing here. Let's duplicate this line, and we could potentially have an entry here as long as this fair value gap remains intact. And my risk will be up here for 47 points of risk. All right, so it is 11:45, getting close to lunchtime here, but as you can see, when I zoom in, there is a small fair value gap here. So I went ahead and took a chance on this one, just one contract. So I'm short at 81.75. My risk is at 127. So 46 points of risk. And of course, I want to move it to break even should we go down below this low here. Okay, so again, I took one contract, took another loss, took a loss on Monday, took a loss on Friday. I'm done for this week. Honestly, I really should not have taken this one. This was on non-farm payroll. So again, I was breaking my rules. I think I was just, coming back. I think I just got a little itchy going into this week. And yeah, took a loss here. Unfortunate. We just consolidated and this is lunchtime. So let's go ahead and take a look at the end of the day and we'll close this video out. Actually, you know what? Let me go ahead and take a look at the spreadsheet data for September. You can see we pretty much just kind of went back and forth, never went back above this high. So between this high and this low, we closed within the range here. So 1 second, let me go ahead and compile the September data and then we'll close out this video. All right, so here is the data for September. As you can see, we did not have a lot of trades, only 5 trades for the whole month, mostly losses, actually pretty much no wins at all. This right here is, even though it's green, it's pretty much a break even. So all 5 trades were pretty much break even or less. The total P&L loss for this month was minus 3%. You can see only a 20% winning percentage. Average losses, average gains. So definitely not a good month. So maybe keep in mind September may not be a good month going into the future, but I think it's 2024, right? This is getting very close to the election time in the fall. So that could be a reason why September was so bad. So going into October, perhaps we may get the same story. So October may be kind of the same as September. A lot of consolidation, no real trending direction. I think we may have to wait until maybe November or December before we start getting actual movement, but we'll keep trying as long as I follow the model. Unfortunately, this time around, I did break the rules a little bit, was not supposed to trade on Friday. Monday, maybe I was a little too eager to get in. So I think going into next week, I got to be a little bit more patient. Well, at least we're past non-farm payroll week now. So going into October, we're going to go into the second week. And like I said at the beginning of the video, we have only 12 weeks left. Definitely could finish out 2024 within the next couple of weeks. So I think next Saturday will be the last back testing day. And then after that, I'll give you the results. I'll compile all the data and show you anything I find interesting. But thanks you once again for joining me. And until we come back next time, safe trading.